Joining us tonight. I know it's a little different than the usual setup. It has me a little nervous, I'll be honest, because I'm not used to talking this way to everybody. So I appreciate your patience with me. I'm going to be talking about avoiding stress eating tonight, and my name is Chris Zellers, and I'm the assistant professor / educator for Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Cape May County. There's 3 departments for Rutgers Cooperative Extension. We have 4-H, which a lot of people know because they deal with the children. We also have the department, agriculture department, and they work with the farmers and growing. They have Master Gardeners program. And then there's my department, which is Family and Community Health Sciences. And we're charged with going out into the community and educating the community and promoting health and wellness throughout education, research, and collaboration. We do that through outreach and food, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles. So that's basically the charge of our department. Before I get started with the actual talk, I just wanted to thank the Ocean City Library for once again hosting me. I'm always glad to be here, not virtually here, I guess, tonight. And I especially want to say thank you to Julie Howard, who is going to be my Vanna White tonight, and she's going to be assisting me as the moderator. So she's behind the scenes here, helping me out. So thanks for that, Julie.
My pleasure.
We're going to do things. I've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of fact finding on how to do all these different WebEx and Zoom calls and whatnot. So just as a form of housekeeping, we're going to do a few polls throughout the talk just to kind of break up the monotony and stop everybody from having to stare at the computer the whole time. It'll give me an idea too of what type of things you all are doing as we're talking, and let me understand how you help to maintain your health. So we have one poll to start with, just to give an idea. I'm sure everybody has probably done one by now. I think I've probably done 4 today, a poll on Zoom or WebEx because there's so many calls going on. But Julie's going to put up a poll. This is our first poll, and we're going to give you just a couple minutes to look at that. You can see that it's going to tell us what the progress of all of this is at the end, so it'll give us a little inkling. Our first question is, are you a county employee? And if so, then you can go ahead and put in the private chat to me your last name and your first name, or if you want to put your ID number, that's fine. Just do it in the private chat so it's just between me and you. And then I will put in for your wellness points. So you can go ahead and check that if you are a county employee, and then go ahead and put it in the chat. And then the second question asks, which of the following activities bring you the most pleasure and relaxation? So you have we'll give it a couple more seconds for everybody to respond.
And just to chime in, if you want to send a private chat, instead of the to everyone, click the word everyone and look for Christine Zellers and click her name so that you send it just to her instead of to everybody, just in case anyone didn't know.
I am going to try to answer as many questions as I can. So we'll span through them at the end of the conversation and try to answer those questions that you have. And you can always, I know you have Julie's information. She's welcome to give my email out. If you have any questions, you can also email me. All right, we have about half the people have logged in. All right, we'll go with about 15 more seconds on the questions, and then we'll go ahead and move on. All right, so we have almost all of the participants. I'm going to end the polling now. you can see, let's see if it'll give us, there we go. There's our results. So you can see that we have quite a few county employees. So welcome everybody. It's good to virtually see you all. It's a little bit easier probably to get to the wellness nights when they're virtual and you can be in your living room eating dinner at the same time, I'm sure. So welcome, and welcome to all those folks that are not county employees. To answer the question, which of the following activities bring you the most pleasure or relaxation? It looks like a walk on the beach is very popular, especially given, I'm sure everybody was excited to see the beaches open back up so we could have that relaxation point. Spending time with family is second. And then we have taking a run on one of Cape May County's beautiful boardwalks or promenades. And then yoga or guided relaxation. So this is a great gauge for me to know the type of things that you're doing to relax. And I think it's important as we move along through this discussion that I'm going to talk a lot about being mindful and mindful behavior. So keep thinking in those terms and think about what you like as we move forward. Okay. And thank you very much for answering all of those questions. I'm not advancing my slides here. Oop. Okay. So we have 3 objectives for this evening, and the first one is understanding. So I'm hoping one of the objectives to be to understand what makes you stress eat or what makes you stressed. And so I'll explain that from a scientific standpoint, a key down scientific standpoint. And then I'm going to talk to you about choices and how we might be mindful and make better choices to be healthier. So we'll talk a lot about choices throughout the program. And then the third objective that I have is looking at alternatives. So ways to find things to do differently. How can we do things to be a little bit more healthy, and what's already working for us, and how to manage stress and how to manage stress eating. So I want to be clear after stating the objectives that it's important to really eat a regular, balanced meal or diet. So you don't want to deprive yourself of food. You don't want to go to the point that you're hungry or skipping meals. And that's really important. We eat for a biological need, and that need for food keeps us functioning properly and makes us healthy. So make sure that you're not depriving yourself. And I wanted to be clear about that, because I think sometimes what happens is we deprive ourselves and then we don't even really recognize when we are hungry or when we're stressed. So we'll talk a little bit more about those signs and recognizing those patterns, but be mindful throughout that we want to make sure that we're eating whole foods, we're eating a healthy, balanced diet, and not going on binge diets or skipping meals or anything like that. And that's, I wanted to be clear on that. Okay, let's see, sorry, juggling everything on my lap here. So I think it's, like I said, I wanted to start out with understanding, and I think it's really important for people to understand stress and stress eating. So I made this little diagram. I looked at a study by Yao and Potneza, and they're both from Yale University. And in that study, they talk about stress and how stress eating can almost become addictive, much like nicotine addiction or alcohol addiction or drug addiction, because it works with our brain. And it works very hypersensitive here. It works with our brain, this stress, and it kind of changes our eating patterns. So we start out, we get a little bit stressed, and it triggers our mind to want to be comfortable again. So if we're trying to be comfortable and we want to find something that gives us comfort, we're going to seek that out. So whether, like I said, it's nicotine or it's alcohol or foods, our brain leads us in that direction. So we start to change that eating pattern because we're being stressed by something. And then that eating pattern kind of evolves in the cyclical way, and we get a desire for hyperpalatable foods. So what hyperpalatable foods are high fat, the bad fat, not the good ones, high fat and high sugar foods. So we start to eat those foods more regularly, and we develop quite a compulsive behavior around them, which is the next part of the cycle. So this cycle continues and goes around and around and around, and to the point that we can become so compulsive with our behaviors, we don't even really recognize that we're doing the things that we're doing. So it's really important, and we're going to go through that as we talk about change and alterations and alternatives, to think about this and think about why we are having the behavior that we're having and how that impacts us. So I always like to share some of the science with everybody. And I think that this is a way of kind of explaining it out, you know, that it can become very habit forming. It can become a compulsive behavior, and it can be often reflective of something like an addiction. Almost because we start eating that food and we start craving it to try to seek some type of comfort. Okay, so sorry, my slides are out of order. When and why do we eat palliative? Let me see something, sorry. When and why do we eat the palliative foods? This is where I want you to just take a minute. I just want everybody to think for a second and say, oh, wait a second, why am I doing that? Are you maybe eating that palliative food because you're tired? So think about it a minute, and think about this when you leave this session. I want you to try to have this exercise where you go through this. Are you eating because you're tired? So is it 3 o'clock in the afternoon and all of a sudden you find yourself hungry, really, really hungry, almost hangry, you know, the commercial where you're hangry. You find yourself a little bit over hungry. Could it be because you need energy? Well, between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock 12 o'clock in the afternoon and 6 o'clock, you know, we eat lunch at noon, and then at 6 o'clock we have dinner, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So that's a big span of time to go without any food, and we're exerting energy during that time period. So a lot of times midday, people do say that they become hungry. That's when they crave sugary snacks, again, going back to that hyperpalliative food. So you want to be cautious to make sure that if you are tired, you're asking yourself, why am I tired? Why is this happening? Are you really tired? Did you have a lack of sleep the night before? Or are you just lacking energy because it's the middle of the day and you haven't had any food? This will give you a clue as to how you might be able to best manage what you're eating. It might be a good time of the day, if you see this regularly throughout your week, to say, hey, you know what? I better bring a snack with me, or now's a good time for a snack. That'll allow you to plan a little bit better, and it will really lend itself to you not falling into that need for comfort because you'll have already eaten. So if you're finding yourself every day hungry at 3 o'clock, maybe you want to eat around 2:30, have a little snack that's healthy, so you don't get to the point that your brain's kicking in for comfort at 3 o'clock and you're eating something that might not be the healthiest choice for you and causing that stress eating. Another thought that people sometimes have might be that they're hungry. And I think it's really important to look at why you're hungry. Are you grabbing for something sugary because, again, you're tired and you just want that little bump of fuel? Or are you truly hungry? It's important to take a minute and check your body for hunger. Just look and say, do you need fuel? Are you having difficulty concentrating? Do you feel weak? What are your physical symptoms? How do you feel physically? Do you feel like your headache, you have a headache coming on because I know I get headaches if I get hungry. Are you getting a headache? Are you having hunger pains? Is your stomach growling? Maybe it's a little upset. They're all physical clues that you are truly hungry. And it's important for you to stop and realize this, because if you're eating empty calories or calories that are devoid of nutrition, rather than nutritious things, it's not really going to last, and then you're going to feel hungry again. So make sure to check yourself and say, am I really hungry? Do I really need to eat? And if you are, again, don't deprive yourself. Have a good snack. Make it something, you know, protein, a lean protein and fruit are good to combine together for a snack. It's always good for fruit. I like fruit and peanut butter is one of my favorites. So look for things that are going to fill you up and keep you healthy and nourished, but are going to sustain you for a little bit of time. If you recognize that you're not full, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but you need to really look at what the true feeling is that you're having there, okay? And then another emotion people sometimes say they feel, and they might be likely to put a hyperpalliative food in their mouth, like a fatty food or a sugary food, is, are you sad or are you anxious? when we talk about food and a lot of people think about food and good times. You think about, especially now, it's hard, I think, for people to, especially when they're alone, think about a time when they were together with a family and they had a party, a birthday or an anniversary, and they felt happy. So if you're alone and you're alone and you're not feeling, all yourself, or you might be a little blue or anxious, that might be a reason why you think you want to eat. So in that check that I told you to do at the beginning of this slide, think about that as you're going through your day. How are you feeling? It might be an emotional thing. It might be something that you felt, you checked yourself and you said, I don't really feel hungry. I don't really feel tired, but I kind of feel sad. So if that's a case, maybe you need to do something, reach out to somebody, go for a walk, do something so you don't feel that way. But recognizing that is a really important part of dealing with, stress eating and hunger. If you're not feeling yourself, then you're liable to eat a hyperpalliative food. So you want to be cautious there. All right, so Julie, we have another poll for everybody to answer if you'd like to put that up on the chat or on the screen.
No problem. Let's see. Okay.
All right, so we'll give you a couple minutes again to do that. Again, in thinking about when you eat and when you're stressed, when you find yourself stressed, do you choose all the ones that apply? Do you try to be more physically active, try to find something to delay your food cravings with another activity, or do you grab the first thing that you see to comfort you, or do you try to take a few deep breaths? So this will give me an inclination of what everybody's feeling and what some of the habits are. And then the next question is, does stress in your life sometimes make you feel unhealthy overall? And then finally, does stress in your life make you feel out of control? Because I know when I get stressed out, that's when I'm feeling really, kind of derailed. Give you another 30 seconds or so to answer if you'd like. Again, if you're a county employee and maybe you have just joined us, if you want to get credit for wellness points, then you can go ahead and chat to me directly, Christine, your first and last name, and if you want your employee number, so that we can pass that along to the wellness team so you get credit for that, okay? All right, we're gonna end the polling and get our results here. All right, so it looks like mostly people say they grab the first thing they want, the first thing that'll comfort them when you eat. And that's interesting because it really speaks to, what we're talking about tonight. It is very common that we don't take that second to breathe through things and really look at what we're doing. A lot of times it's convenience. It's the first thing that we see. If our sugar's low, if our, stress levels high, our sugar's low, we're going to go for those things. I know, like true confessions, I'll grab those chocolate chips in the cupboard if I'm not planning and I'm not thinking. So it takes a minute, and we're going to give you some tools to kind of think through those things, and hopefully that they'll help you. So it's good. Also, 44% of you said that they like to try to be physically active, and that's a great thing to do. And that's one of the things I'm going to bring up tonight. If you can distract yourself and deter from eating that hyperpalliative food and go do something to be more physically active, then that's going to help you in more than one ways. You're going to be physically active. You're going to avoid something that's probably not healthy for your body. And it's going to make you feel better in the long run, because when we become physically active, our endorphins kick in, and it really helps us in the long run. 28% of you said that you tried to delay your food craving with another activity, which is fine. Again, you want to make sure you're asking yourself, am I really hungry? And if you're hungry, then go ahead and eat something healthy. But if you're not hungry, then you want to try to find that other activity. So that's perfect. And then try taking a few deep breaths and being aware of what you're doing. Again, that's a really critical thing to do, the awareness and just a couple deep breaths. A lot of times I used to do, I know I've said this in some of my other talks, I used to do tobacco counseling. I used to do smoking cessation too as a former job. And that was one of the things we taught people, was to delay. If you can delay, usually, it'll go away. It'll give you the clarity to be able to, maybe make a healthier choice or find something else to do. So that's great. Good answers. And then it looks like does stress in your life sometimes make you feel unhealthy overall? And it looks like 91% of people are saying that. And I think now more than ever, I'm just watching the commercials. I think if I hear somebody say the new normal one more time, my head's going to pop off, because it's so many people are saying that in commercials, that everybody's capitalizing on that. And I feel like they're capitalizing on our stress levels. But overall, as a society, we're very stressed, because we have a lot going on. We're constantly on. We have our phones at our fingertips. We're available for work all the time. Our families are, always on the go. It's a stressful lifestyle that we live. And I think it's really important to recognize that we're stressed, but it's also really important to find ways to cope with that stress. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move through the talk tonight. But I don't know if it brings comfort to anybody else, but seeing that everybody else is pretty stressed out, brings me a little bit of comfort. And then, does stress make your life feel out of control? So a lot of people said yes to that too. And again, as we're talking about eating healthy and stress eating, if your life feels out of control due to stress, then your eating is going to be out of control. So you want to take time to be mindful in what you're doing and tone it down, kind of de-stress a little bit, getting proper sleep patterns in, having a regular diet is good for you. All the things, exercise, all those things are going to make you feel more in control, but they take time and planning, and they take a need for self-awareness. So as we go through the rest of the talk, just take a minute as I say things and think, well, that's something that I might be able to add into my lifestyle. It's all little steps. Things don't happen overnight. And sometimes we need to reel ourselves back in. I think one thing that I learned from, being in the scenario we are, working from home and being, in self-isolation kind of here with my family, it's made me realize that things are beyond our control. So if we can kind of embrace what's going on and try to take that by the horns, then that's going to help us. And it's going to help us to deal with stress a little bit better. All right. Well, thank you for the poll, everybody. It's a good job. All right. Okay. So I love the lady down here with the chocolate bar in the corner. I've been there, done that. She looks like she's in total, I'm not paying attention to what I'm eating mode kind of thing. But for purposes of this activity and looking at these, these people are all eating hyperpalliative foods. I want to talk to you about a process, and I wanted to come up with a way that you could take this all in and really have a tool to walk away with. So I thought of stop, look, and listen, the old way to cross the street. And instead of stop, look, and listen, I thought, how about think, listen, and plan? So before you dig into a sugary or fatty hyperpalliative food, I want you to first think. So stop and think about what you're doing. Slow down, and before you just grab anything. A lot of folks said they just grab anything to eat to kind of comfort themselves. Instead of doing that, think about what you're doing. Maybe take a couple deep breaths. If you find yourself with a handful of chips reaching in there, move away from the chips and set them aside, and just say to yourself, maybe you do that once the first week, and then you try to do it twice the second week. But just, make a conscious effort to just really think, about what you're doing. So say, I'm going to think about what I'm doing before I do it. Then I want you to take another second and just listen, right? Listen to what your body's cueing you to say. Are you feeling those hunger signals? So do you feel hungry, lightheaded, like I mentioned before? Or do you have a headache starting? Is your stomach growling? Or are you feeling emotional? Like I mentioned in the last slide, maybe you feel sad. Maybe you feel really stressed out at that moment and anxious. And you feel like if you have something to eat, it'll take you back to that comfort time. Now, you don't consciously sit there and say, oh, if I eat this bag of chips, it's going to make me feel like I'm at home with so-and-so and we're happy. You don't consciously do that. It's kind of a subconscious reaction to things, but you're seeking some type of comfort. So ask yourself, listen to your body. Am I seeking comfort here? Am I really hungry? Again, if you're really hungry, then make a choice to have a healthy snack. Come up with that plan for what that healthy snack is going to be. So that's step 3, plan. Plan on how you're going to either eat a healthy snack or maybe say, you know what, this is a need for an emotional fulfillment. I'm going to reach out and have a conversation with somebody. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to do some yoga. Right now, there's been so many advertisements for meditation apps and quieting apps. I've heard a lot about that. It helps a lot of people to have those down moments. And for me, it's really difficult to quiet my mind. And last night I tried one of the apps. I think it was a rainforest, and it made me really anxious. So it didn't work for me. So you're going to have to play around with things and see what works. But going for a walk, taking the dog for a walk, maybe playing with the kids, see what works for you. But take that minute to plan. So we're going to think, listen, and plan. And if you're not hungry, ask yourself what you can do, in that plan. Like, what else can I do here? So just like it's important to think about what we're eating, those food choices are very important. So I've given you some examples here from the different food groups. And I've given talks at different times and locations about eating healthy on a budget, eat for the health of it, snacking, different things. And it applies here to stress eating too. If you're eating healthy foods, then you're breaking that cycle that we talked about in the first slide of that compulsive behavior. So if you can set the candy bar, the chips down and say, okay, I'm going to have some popcorn. It's a whole grain. Popcorn's a whole grain. It could replace those chips, and you don't put a lot of salt and butter on them. And it's a whole natural snack that you can have. So it's a good choice for you. Eggs, almond butter, hummus are all down at the bottom there. They're good choices because they're protein and they're filling. So if you are really hungry, it could fill you up and carry you over to the next meal that you're having. And it could meet that need for, to stop you from eating something that you probably shouldn't be eating. Fruits and vegetables, always a great option, and they keep us full. They have the nourishment that our body needs to be healthy. And you have to think when you're eating, I'm nourishing my body. So you have to think about the benefit it's going to present to you and how that will happen. If you're eating a high sugar or a high fat food, it's not nourishing your body. So you want to think about terms of that as well, as what is the nourishment that I'm getting from this. In the corner here, I have the picture of the strawberry with a little bit of chocolate on it. And that's fine. You don't want to eat all chocolate, but you can have a little taste here and there because, again, we don't want to deprive ourselves. We want to eat a balanced diet. And if we're eating a balanced diet, then we should get all the food we need. And hopefully we won't need a lot of sugary foods. But if you want that little taste of chocolate, like I know a lot of people do from time to time, you can dip fruit in. And fruit's going to give you the nourishment you need. And then the chocolate's there to help you out and give you that little sensation of what you like to taste. All right. So being a mindful eater is really important. We eat, how many times have you eaten a meal in your car on the go, through the drive-through? It's become, not maybe now, but it's a way of eating, even lunch. I find myself when I'm at work, I really try to go out and take a walk at lunchtime, even though I eat at my desk, because we don't take time to really enjoy a meal or savor a meal. And so that takes away from our day. And I find a lot of people I'm talking to right now that are working from home, they just go straight through all day long. And that can be detrimental too, because you're eating at the computer, you're eating when you're on a call. So you really want to become a mindful eater. And in order to do that, you want to really take time and make mealtime only time. So if you're having a meal, don't watch TV, don't look at your phone or your computer, just make the only activity that you're doing eating, so you can really enjoy it and take time for it. Again, going back to those cues, only eat when you're truly hungry, but eat if you are. So if you're truly hungry and as you're eating, you want to make sure that you're not overeating either. So as you're eating, go through, maybe put your fork down, enjoy the conversation, or if you're with somebody, just not with somebody, just put the fork down. It'll stop you from kind of just shoveling things in and going really quickly, because if we eat too quickly, then we don't recognize the signs of fullness. And again, a lot of times, because our body becomes regulated by that whole cycle that we talked about in the beginning of compulsive eating, we're not even realizing we're doing these things. We're not realizing we're shoveling food in, or we're not realizing that we're eating and we're not hungry. So you really have to become a mindful eater, and it might take some time. It might not happen overnight. So take some time and really relax and look at those cues, and look at when you're hungry, look at when you're full. Maybe as you're starting to get full, stop eating because you fill up a little slower than you can eat. Eat to nourish. There's a little spelling error there. You want to make sure that you're eating to nourish yourself, and you're eating so that you don't have an empty calorie count. So eat things that are going to make you full, eat things that are going to sustain you and give you a lot of vitamins and minerals. Enjoy your surroundings. So if you are alone, maybe go eat on the porch. Maybe, it's nice out nowadays, or maybe do something that you enjoy, so that, you can feel like you're enjoying the surroundings. Enjoy the conversation with the family. I know sometimes that gets difficult. I have 3 sons, so believe me, I know dinner time can be a challenge, but try to look at what's surrounding you and take in that moment and enjoy it. And then finally, savor the flavor, right? So enjoy what you're eating. Take the time again to smell it, taste the texture, chew it up completely. Maybe even if it brings back the memory of something fine or fun that was in your life. I mean, think about the smell of a turkey dinner. I've cooked a few turkeys since we've been home. And that smell brings on that smell of family and being together, because you eat that at Thanksgiving or at Christmas or at Easter, at a holiday of some sort. So think about the smells and the textures and the tastes and all the things that go along with that, because that can make you enjoy the meal and really savor what you're doing. And then finally, be in the moment. Take a moment and really be mindful of what you're eating and how you're eating it. These are all ways they're going to put you back in the driver's seat. They're going to give you control over what you're doing, so that you feel like you're more in control and that stress isn't controlling your life and your lifestyle. All right. So I talked to you in the beginning, and I said we wanted to talk a little bit about those relaxation tools. So, running in the park with the kids, or, being out, that's my nephew, running on the trails in the woods with my brother, that brings them a lot of relaxation. Some people, it's gardening, and gardening can be a very good tool to help you relax and burn calories at the same time and get some exercise and movement. A lot of people enjoy walking with their animals or their dog. And, there's been studies that show if you are more physically active with your pet, which most pet owners are, if you own a pet, you're more likely to be active than somebody that does not. That's a good way to get out and release stress. Now, my husband does not get stress relief from that puppy, because he pulls, and he's 125 pounds of crazy. So he's not a very good stress reliever for my husband. So he finds other ways. So if it's not your thing, if walking the dog does not bring you stress relief, then find another thing in addition. You have to obviously walk the dog once in a while, but we do that for his exercise. But for your own sanctity and sanity, find something that gives you that relaxation. Yoga or mindfulness in meditation or relaxation, they're all things that people find relaxing. So look through and find what you need to do that suits you. It's going to be different. I can tell you 100 different things to do, but until you find what you need, then it's not going to work for you. So, you know, if it's a walk on the beach, I know a lot of people said that that was of interest to them, or, you know, taking that time at lunchtime, switch out of those high heels and put the sneaker on so that you can go for a walk and get some release there. So managing, you know, feeling stress and managing that stress will be greatly improved if you can find some type of relaxation tool. And you might have, it might be hit or miss, you know, you might try 2 or 3 things and get frustrated and this isn't it. So find what makes you feel good, because you're more likely to do it if it makes you happy and you feel good about it. And again, I said that there's a lot of apps out there that you can find to use, and I would encourage you to you know, use one of them. If tracking things helps you to you know, challenge yourself. I have a Fitbit, so I try to challenge myself every week to get a little bit more steps or a little bit more cardio or whatever it is, just to challenge myself and have that, because it brings me relaxation. So everybody's going to be different. Being in control of what is stressing you out, you know, this mindfulness, the listening to your body, the relaxation are all extremely important. And I'll mention again, sleep. If you are working shift work, it's extremely difficult to get sleep on a regular basis. But if you can try to get the same amount of hours every time you do get rest, that's important. If you are not on shift work and you can get to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day, that's very helpful in reducing your stress, because it sets that biological clock for you in that schedule. So remember those things, you know, the eating mindfully, the looking at whether or not you're hungry, and the relaxation tools. Like, always keep them as you're in your stress toolkit, we'll call it, to make sure that you're healthy. All right, so finally, we'll go back to what we started with, the think, listen, and plan, which are going to be the 3 main components of your toolkit. It stands to reason that if you're eating mindfully, then you should be able to make healthy choices. If you're really looking at what you're doing and not letting yourself spiral out of control, that's going to help your overall health. So remember, in the beginning of our discussion, I asked you to think about how you eat sometimes, how you feel sometimes when you eat. And we asked the questions in the poll about, you know, out of control, I try to take a walk. So rather than feeling guilty and, you know, beating yourself up about maybe jumping in and eating right away, just take a few minutes to try to make a good choice. And don't deprive yourself if you're really hungry, but think of in terms of how this is going to nourish you. What's it going to do for you? And if you take the time to stop and be in the moment instead of just grabbing something, you're much more likely to make better choices. And listen to those cues, you know, listening to your body and what it's telling you. You know, if I'm feeling, some days I'm just feeling too tired to exercise, that's okay. It's okay if you feel like you have a day where you need to have something that you might not think is so healthy for yourself. That's all right, but be mindful of it, be aware of it so that it doesn't become a pattern, like that very original circle that I showed you that becomes, you know, a kind of eating pattern for you. And try to check in with those emotions. They're a really big part of eating. A lot of times we start eating for reasons that we're not even sure that we're eating for. So check in with yourself on that, you know, listen to yourself. And once you determine why you're eating, go back to that plan again and come up with a plan. You know, I'm going to do some deep breathing. I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to have a healthy snack. It's okay, whatever that plan is, but you have to be in control of that. So they're all ways that you can stay in control and hopefully combat that stress. But you're going to have to take all those cues and kind of reel them in so that you're healthy and ready to go. So Julie, we have one more poll here for you to put in for everybody to do. Right. And let me see, I have some, as you're doing that, I'm going to give some talks. And again, last time, I just want to remember to tell everybody, if you have not chatted to me that you are a county employee and you would like to receive wellness points, please do so. Do that now. And that's checked off for the yes or no at the end here. So the second question is, do you think that the tools provided here today will help you make more mindful and manageable decisions around your stress, becoming more in control of your stress management? And then finally, and then third, what will you try to do to avoid stress eating, and choose all of the ones that apply, like we did in the beginning. And as you're doing that, I want to pull up on the screen. Let me see if we can, there we go. I have a few websites to share with you. Rutgers Cooperative Extension is always trying to reach the community. My job is to educate to the community here in Cape May County, which I am thrilled about. So we have a Facebook page that is wonderful. It's just beautiful. And you can check us out on Facebook at if you search out Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Cape May County, we will come up. And I couldn't get the link to click for that, but that I put the little Facebook to remind me to do that. So you can go ahead and you can like us on there. And that has an update of all the different all 3 program areas that I mentioned in the beginning, and what those program areas are and what upcoming things we have going on. So you can check us out on Facebook. We also, hopefully this works, there we go. This is our beautiful web page, and this gives information as well. You can see that we have all the different workshops going on. We have one coming up that's going to be a collaborative between myself and our ag department. Eat What You Grow, that's on June 3rd. So there's information there on how to register and sign up for that. And then, now I have to figure out how to go back here. We also have, so that's for Cape May County's Rutgers Cooperative Extension. And then this is my department website. So Family Community Health Sciences. If you go to this website, there's some great resources here. We do wellness and we do workplace wellness and all things in between relating to nutrition and wellness. So that's a great resource as well. We also, because we want to serve the community, we were really quick to make sure that we had evidence-based information on COVID-19 and resources for that. So we have, if you Google Rutgers Cooperative Extension COVID-19 resources, there's all kinds of different information, general resources, oops, I skipped it. General resources and commercial agriculture, food industry, farm markets, nutrition and wellness. There's all types of information that's focused around COVID-19. And one of my favorite things there is from our specialist in our department who wrote a lot about keeping your groceries safe. So, and you know, how to handle takeout food and those type, and when you get your groceries in and things like that to prevent the spread of COVID. So there's information on there. Everything we write about or we do is evidence-based. We don't just pull it out of the air. We make sure that we have evidence-based information because we are a research institution. And then finally, if you go to our website on Rutgers Cooperative Extension and you look under Home, Lawn, and Garden, we have information on gardening. And you can see that there's a couple different areas here that have different, you know, nutrition and wellness. This is ours. There's tips on gardening, but this is how we relate to gardening. So this is our portion of the gardening. And then there's also things to talk about garden problems and what to plant. So since so many people are interested in home gardening right now, especially, we hopped on developing that and pulling all the department's resources together. So there's information for the whole family to learn about gardening on that site. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to start looking at some of the questions that came in. And as I'm doing that, I would really appreciate if Julie's going to put up, oh, I want to go over the poll too. Julie's going to put up a link, and on that link is a questionnaire about the different, there she goes. It's in the chat. She's going to put up this link. It's go to Rutgers.edu. You can see, if you could be so kind as to go there and answer questions about the talk tonight, that helps me a lot. I need to report back to the university to make sure they know that I was here and not walking on the boardwalk with Julie tonight. So if you could be so kind to answer that, that would be wonderful. And to give you a hint on our polling, the county employees, we have them again. And then a lot of people think they'll try, they're going to think more about their choices. So that's good. That's what I like to see, is that we're going to be looking at those. Let me share these results. We're going to be looking at those more readily. And I can't Julie, I don't see number 2. Let me see if I shrink it down here. It
Do you
went
think
away.
that the tools
Oh, there
provided?
he goes. Yeah. And do you think the tools that were provided, that'll help you more? Well, I'm glad to hear that. And we have, like I said, I shared the resources that we have there. We have so many resources at Rutgers Cooperative Extension. So, you know, you're welcome to reach out at any time to us to get information. And our big thing is we're not going to tell you I don't know. We're going to say I'll find out. And I don't know the answers to all the questions, but I certainly am eager to find out and try to help everybody. So let me see about getting back to the questions here. I don't see my chat now, Julie. There we go. Now I can see everybody. Hi. All right, let's look at some of these questions. All right, so we have a lot of names here. Hi, Ralph. I see you said hello. Hi, everybody in the Kodiak family. We got people listening and doing dinner. That's great. That's great. Hopefully you're being mindful about what you're eating. I have somebody said they didn't seem to be able to submit for their county employee. I have your name, so I'll work on that for you. I'll get that in for you. Okay. All right, if you didn't send it privately, I have it. I'll get it. And I'm not seeing any questions. Does anybody have any questions before we go through? It's mainly just the employees. Am I missing any questions there?
No, I think none in the chat box. If anyone wants to take a minute and put it in the chat box now, if you have a question, you can go ahead.
All right, I'm going to put in the chat box my email address. So if anybody comes up with any questions afterwards, you're welcome to email me. I am there every day. I am going to actually take a couple days vacation, but I'll be checking email. And I'm there every day. And like I said, we do have some upcoming talks, and hopefully we'll be doing another one here with the libraries and Ocean City Library in particular. So we'll keep those posted on our Facebook page where you can follow us, as well as the other sources that I gave you, like our beautiful website. So thank you all. And if anybody has any questions, we'll hang it up then.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go enjoy a healthy dinner, everybody.